Welcome back to South Africa Tonight. Now, school principals in the Western Cape are troubled over the dropout rate in the province. The Basic Education Department says over 114,000 learners could not be accounted for in November last year. Now, it's no doubt that the 2020 academic year was marred by all-encompassing uncertainty. So we find out if these figures are attributed wholly to the COVID-19 pandemic or if there are other contributing factors. So to discuss this matter further, we're joined now by Dr. George Mutsaneng, who's the acting president of the South African Principals Association. Dr. Mutsaneng, thanks a lot for joining us this evening. Now, according to these figures released by the department, over 114,000 learners in the Western Cape could not be accounted for. Take us through what you are concerned about as an organization.
Yes, thank you for giving us this opportunity as the South African Principals Association. We are really concerned if a number of learners are not accounted for. But we know, if we have to give the background, that the problem started with COVID-19, which brought a lot of anxiety to a number of learners, which brought a lot of instability within the schools to such an extent that school managers were not able to fulfill the obligations or to meet the tasks that they were supposed to meet for a particular year, which is 2020. On that score, you find that the number of learners who could not be accounted for disappeared because of this anxiety and lack of confidence, because they were thinking that maybe 2020 was not going to be a year for schooling anymore due to COVID-19, but only to find that the school had to go on.
Yeah.
So learners dropped out to a certain extent.
Yeah, now, do these learners ever return to school, or are they just lost forever?
Now, as SAPA, we've observed that they are not lost forever, because some of our colleagues are also giving reports that some of the learners who disappeared or could not be accounted for last year have now started again to register for 2021. So it would mean these learners are still willing to continue with their lessons so that they are ready for completing matric, grade 12 in 2021.
Yeah, but then what would be the...
They're not totally lost.
They're not totally lost, but I think a significant portion of them may not go back to school. And therefore, the next question is around the long-term impact of having the significant number of learners drop out of school. I mean, what are we looking here at as a society?
Well, as a society, if a significant number of learners leave school, we know that it will have an impact in the society, in the sense that even if they can go out to look for work, they cannot be accommodated because they will not be having certificates to prove that they can be offered work opportunities somewhere. So in that case, you'll find that these learners will be part of that group which will remain unemployed and which will exert a lot of problems in the society. So that on its own has got an impact on the society, because they cannot have anything to produce so that they can be accommodated in any work-related situation.
Yeah. Dr. Mutsaneng, we understand the problem, but what measures have been put in place to get learners back to school? I mean, some of them are coming back because they feel as though, you know, the learning environment is much safer. But for those who are opting not to return, how do you get them back?
Well, I think it's not a question of the Department of Education alone. We also expect parents here and the community to play a role, to an extent that we have to motivate these learners, have campaigns which are set up to motivate these learners, to prepare them and show them the necessity of going back to school and getting at least educating and getting a certificate which can open avenues for them. Yeah. To study even further at tertiary level and so forth.
I hear you on that, the fact that we need campaigns, but are these campaigns going to prove effective? We know that this is an institute, this is a country that is full of campaigns and policies, but when it comes to the implementation as well as results, we really do lag behind. So it's one thing to have a campaign, it's another thing that the learner actually takes heed to the campaign and goes back to school. So how do you make a campaign effective?
Well, the campaign can be effective if all of us put hands together, because we know that education is a societal matter. Like I'm saying, we need a society to back up these programs which the department is initiating, so that everyone accounts, not only schoolmasters or the Department of Education alone, but everyone, the society, NGOs, if possible, should also account. But we know to a certain extent that other sectors, in fact, the education sector, is also putting in place the finishing school, so that those who have not finished matric can also attend the finishing school. But for these who have not completed or who are now lost, as we can say, we need everyone to take up or stand up so that we make a holistic approach to get these learners back to force, to get these learners back into the classroom.
Yeah, and very quickly, Dr. George, before we leave you, how many of these learners are in primary school and others in high school?
Well, I'm not sitting with statistics at the moment, but I know as we started this year, schools were visited and schools completed what we call school readiness surveys, and these surveys will clearly indicate how many learners now have registered or how many learners are accounted for at secondary and even primary school.
We'll leave it there for today. Dr. George Mutsone, who's the acting president of the South African Principals Association.